New Zealand Parliament unanimously declares severe human rights abuses occurring against Uyghur in China.
Here's a summary of the article.
The Labour Party sought to have the word genocide removed from the initial motion put forward by the ACT Party, a move which has disappointed Uyghur people in New Zealand. Similar motions in the parliaments of the United Kingdom, Canada, and the Netherlands have condemned the abuse as genocide, but the statements were not supported by each parliament's government. Van Velden first put the genocide motion to Parliament last week. Green Party Foreign Affairs spokeswoman Golriz Ghahraman said it was disappointing to hear the leadership from both major parties speak of trade with China when discussing the prospect of a genocide motion. Ori Party co-leader Debbie Nariwa Packer said the motion rightly drew attention to the suffering of Uyghur people, and the party was pleased to see the attempt not to water down the motion. The wording of the motion was subject of deliberation on Tuesday, with MPs that make up Parliament's Business Committee settling on a statement reading, "This House is gravely concerned about the possible severe human rights abuses taking place against Uyghurs and other ethnic and religious minorities in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region." Amid the debate, Ghahraman attempted to amend the wording of the statement, returning genocide to the motion, but the attempt failed as it wasn't put in writing.
This post received a score of 18,000, with an upvote ratio of 95%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
This bipartisan effort is a major statement by New Zealand, however remains just that, a statement. This is not the first statement made by New Zealand on the Uyghur crisis. Earlier this year the government issued a signed, expressing concern, and has also issued a range of statements on other issues related to China, such as the Hong Kong security law, both individually, alongside Australia, and with other international partners. Given New Zealand this is a major step that will perhaps spark further action in the future.
I hate to say it, but all of this is ultimately meaningless. I mean, it's important to call this out, but that's all it's going to be. Given that China has veto power at the UN, action will never be taken through that path. The only hope is that there is some sort of global pressure put on China, but ultimately they couldn't really care less about strongly worded messages.
Words don't mean shit unless action is taken, which there won't be.
Well, everybody is scared shitless to take action against China. And rightly so. They are incredibly powerful, which means they can do a lot and nobody will substantially interfere.
Here's some context to Arden's comments. New Zealand has sought to diversify trade away from a reliance upon China for some time now, having experienced the dangers of dependence on one export market once before in our history, before the UK joined the EEC, EU, and imposed barriers on our products. Almost a quarter of our exports went to Britain. Our previous foreign minister put it beautifully. Essentially, we sent our last foreign minister to Washington, D.C. and told the Trump administration that they are losing the Pacific to China because they remain protectionist. As for turning a blind eye to China's horrific human rights violations, it has been anything but silent. For all of these reasons, New Zealand was warned by China that its eyes would be. We didn't stop, though. New Zealand invested $1 billion over 4 years in a foreign affairs strategy that sought to reassert our influence and contain China's within the South Pacific island countries.
For those unaware, this was a copy of, on a different statement by New Zealand's Prime Minister. The Majestic. I'd recommend an edit at the top of this clarifying that it is a repost from a different thread, predates today's statement by Parliament, and also examines New Zealand's wider foreign policy rather than the Uyghur crisis. I'd raised it in the original thread earlier in the week because that was discussing the wider New Zealand bilateral relationship, not a specific case. I don't want to take away from the fact that today they did not declare it a genocide, and a lot of the information I included isn't relevant to this issue.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.